Hello crafters and welcome to the May 2024 release video hop by Altenew. My name is Deepa from Designs by D and I have these two beautiful cards to share with you. Now keep in mind Altenew is giving away $300 in total prizes, so don't forget to comment down below for your chance to win. Now keep in mind that it's a little different. I will be giving you the name of an emoji, a specific emoji, and that is what I want you to comment with down below in order to be entered to win. So stay tuned for that. It'll be coming somewhere within the video. So let's go ahead and look at these products. Now there's a whole bunch of products with this release, but this is the one I'm using for this card. I'm sure you'll see inspiration with a whole bunch of other products from the other talented designers. Don't forget to check out their videos and like and subscribe to their videos as well as mine. We're using the exotic Tuberoses, and this is the Build-A-Garden set. You can see that you get a beautiful floral and a bird along with a bunch of sentiments. You get the stencils and you also get the dies. And with the Build-A-Garden set, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you also get a blending brush with this one to use the stencils with this image. So I'm going ahead and I've got my white piece of cardstock here attached to my Altenew stamp wheel. I'm treating the cardstock with my anti-static powder tool. And I've positioned that floral near the top, and then I'm adding some Versamark ink. So of course, since I added the anti-static powder tool, I am heat embossing. I'm going to add that ink and stamp it out. Now, if you weren't starting off with heat embossing here, you could use the Versamark ink to treat your stamp, or you could use that little eraser that I showed you there. There's like a pack of 3 of those that Altenew has, and they work perfectly for treating your stamps before stamping if, say, you're starting off with a colored ink rather than embossing ink. So I've got some white heat embossing powder here, some white embossing powder, and I'm just adding it to my panel. And then I will just melt that to the paper with my heat gun here. And once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and put it back into my Altenew stamp wheel. And I flipped it. Now I'm going to stamp the same image. Now actually I thought it was going to work, but I am going to have to move it a little. And I did so. Now I'll just do the exact same thing on this end of the panel as well. So as you can see, we start off pretty simple here with just a bit of plain old white heat embossing. And to be clear, this is not clear white embossing powder. It's like solid opaque white embossing powder. So now that that is done, I'll go ahead and take the same image. This time I'm going to stamp it out using some black ink. So I want a nice crisp image here. And I'll go ahead and put that down here, stamp it out nicely, and I love that. So I have to say, the stamp wheel, I like that the like I'm showing you here, you can kind of stamp it out and then take that piece out and then use it for ink blending. You could keep it in the well of the stamp wheel if you wanted to, but I find that sometimes the stencils go over the top of the edges, and it just works better when that sticky mat is outside of the well. So I'm just going to use my guide, and that guide really comes in handy. And I like to kind of go through all the stencils at first and just see how many of each I have, how many colors I need to choose. It helps me choose my inks. And it's just like a tiny little bit of planning that you have to do before you ink everything up, just so that you know you've got enough colors and that you got the right colors, darker to lighter tone, and so on and so forth for your ink blending. So I'm starting off with some lavender feels here. And you'll notice that when you're inking up these flowers, it doesn't actually ink up the entire flower. So you're going to have little areas that are white. So don't feel like you've missed a stencil or something. That's normal. That's just how this set is made up. So once again, following the guide, I'll go move on to my next color, which is Midnight Violet. So this is like the deeper, more detailed portion of the florals in this image. And remember, as I said, you will get white areas. So that's why I think I did this and I was like, did I miss something? And then I was looking through, you see here, I'm kind of like, what is going on? I'm like, okay, well, I guess that you get some white spots. And the white spots are basically it's just the highlights. It's ensuring that you have highlights. And if you're someone like me, I always miss out on my highlights. So this type of stamp and stencil set is perfect for me. So I'm going to start out with some bamboo moss, and then I think I've got like a bit of a yellow tone there. I was kind of going through the different colors that I wanted to use, but I settled on these ones. I figured that these have more of a yellowish tone to it, which would go really nice with the purple, because if you look on the color wheel, purple and yellow are complementary colors and they just go together really nicely. So I've started off with the bamboo to fill in those leaves, and I'm adding a little bit of honey drizzle. That's what the yellow tone was. It's like the darkest yellow in one of the yellow sets with fresh lemon and so on. And it just kind of adds like a bit of a highlight to those leaves, since we don't actually have the white portions on these leaves. Then I will move about my stencil to color in the other leaves. So as you can see, the stencil does like the main portion of the leaves. So coloring the full extent of the leaves, not the details yet. So this is why I'm still sticking with my bamboo. And then just like I did the first portion, I will come in with the honey drizzle just on the edges to add a little bit of a highlight, just like we did the first half. It's already coming together and looking really nicely. So now for the next stencil. This one will do more of the detail portion of the leaves, and then it also does the little centers of the flowers. So I'm coming in with moss. This is my darker color, my darker green, and this is going to give all of the leaves all of those little detailed bits there, which I find that when you add this detail layer, it gives your image like a lot more of like a 3D look, I think, in the end. So now I'm just going to grab my die, and I'm going to cut out this large floral, which is absolutely stunning on its own. You could have actually also kind of cut out the use of the detailed layer with the leaves, because we did do a mix of colors, but I think all of it it comes together so nicely. And look at that large image. It's amazing. I love when I can die cut the larger images like this, because they just look so pretty on their own. And that kind of helped decide what I was going to do with this card. I wasn't completely sure at first, but once I cut out the image, I was like, this has got to take center stage. So remember, we had heat embossed that first panel. Now we heat embossed it in white, so that's going to kind of be our background. And now I'm adding some ink. So I've got the honey drizzle. Now I'm going to add, I think this is Sun-Kissed. I'm going to add the Sun-Kissed. It's more of like a peachy, more of like an orangey, like a light orange color. So it's going to blend nicely from the yellow then into the purple at the end. So I've gone ahead and taken the darkest purple that we used in our floral image, which was the Midnight Violet. And I'm going to add this to the other end, and you can see how that heat embossing it resists the ink, and it shows up so beautifully here in the background. Well, this is going to be the background of our card, right? So I'll just kind of blend those inks together, make sure that everything, works together nicely. I'm kind of pulling more of that purple into that Sun-Kissed peachy orange color, just so everything blends together nicely, and it gives you a little bit of a reddish tone in between the purple and the orange. So all I did there was I kind of used a dry paper towel to kind of wipe off some of the ink from the white embossing, and then I sprinkled it with a bit of water so I could get like a bit of a water droplet effect going on over top of the ink. So I have this white circle piece of cardstock here. I just cut it out with a simple circle die, and now I'm grabbing some sentiments from the pack in order to stamp out the sentiment on this circle. So moving on, I'm just going to take my panel now. I cut it down just a little bit so I could get a tiny bit of a white border around the edge. I'm attaching it to an A2 sized white card base. and this is just side folding. I'm going to attach some foam adhesive. These are small foam squares to the back of the die cut floral piece that we inked up and cut out. And then all I have to do is remove all those backing bits and attach it to the card. And you can see that since I used the colors from the actual sprig in the background of the card, everything just flows and works together and complements each other so nicely. So I just went ahead and attached the sentiment circle in the exact same manner, and I'm using some Altenew Gem Sparkles in Smoky Quartz. I'm going to use like the grayish color to kind of just complement this card here. I love these gems. I'm so excited that Altenew now has gems, shiny gems available on top of the enamel dots, and yeah, it just came together really nicely. Now let's do one more card with the same kind of color scheme. So for this one, I'm going to use that gorgeous large bird that comes with this set. I'm going to stamp it out with some black ink. And you can see it's stamped out gorgeously the first time. Now I'm going to grab the stencils. Now since we're stenciling, you don't really need to worry about, oh, am I going to use pigment ink? Am I going to use dye ink? I tend to just use the pigment ink because it just gives a nice crisp image. And just like before, I'm basically going to line up all the different portions of the stencil to color in the bird. And we're using the same sort of colors that we used on the flower. So I'm starting off with Lavender Fields here. And I'm just coloring the main body and portions of the wings. Now, you do kind of have to pay attention to the stencils. It's not like all one stencil does one portion. The stencil is broken up into different parts. So again, this is where the guide on the back of the stamp set really comes in handy for filling in all of the ink colors and getting all the stencils right. So now I'm coming in with that sun-kissed and really deepening that color up near the center. You can see it's darker because it's over top of that purple, which is perfect because, again, as the feathers kind of flare outwards, they tend to be a little lighter because they're catching more of the sun and the light, and it just all kind of makes more sense that the body's a little darker. I'm coming in with the honey drizzle here to give it that yellow tone. And you'll notice that I'm not cleaning my stencil as I go. I'm just kind of moving it around. So as you do this, you will want to be careful if you're doing this in the same manner that I am, that you don't mix inks. So sometimes if a section that you're stenciling in is close to another section, you might kind of mix your inks and get a bit of muddying. So just be mindful of that. It's actually for that reason that I do usually like to start with the lighter colors and then come in with the darker ones at the end. I didn't quite do that here because I think I'm kind of used to kind of keeping the colors where they belong, but you'll see I've got a little bit of overlap between that purple and the yellow on the stencil. But again, that's fine because the darker color overlapped over the lighter color. If it happened the other way around, then I probably would have ruined my brush a little bit, or maybe ruined the image by mixing the colors a little. But since we're mixing so many colors on this image anyways, I don't think it would have made a difference anyway. So you really kind of just got to weigh up what it is you're adding ink to and whether you really need the colors to be separate or if they can mix a little bit. So moving on, that bird is gorgeously colored in. You see a lot of the yellow and the purple, not so much of the peach, and I think that's just because of my camera. So in real life you see more of the peach and it looks really nice. I did cut that out with the coordinating die, and I've put that aside so I can kind of figure out what to do with my background. So I've kind of grabbed that that image of the sprig of flowers and leaves there, and I want my bird to kind of be coming towards the flowers, like he's going to land on top of it and start picking at some of the leaves or something like that. Kind of experimented on how I want the sprig to go. Now this is just a peach piece of cardstock here. And I'm just stamping this out with some plain old black ink. Nothing too complicated. Again, the stamp wheel comes in handy to make sure I get a nice crisp image. If I need to double stamp, I can do that without smudging up my image. Now that I've got it how I like it, I decided that the bottom half was just a little too plain for me. You could have just kept it plain peach, but I did want to add a bit more of those branches on the bottom. So, you know, I think I changed my mind here. Actually, I was going to do it in the black, then I changed my mind. I said, I think the one branch is nice. Let's do something more in the background rather than the foreground. So I'm grabbing, I think this is the Sun-Kissed, and I'm just going to do some kind of tone-on-tone stamping here. The end result is really nice because it looks like there's a branch in the background of the black outline branch. So it comes together really nicely. You'll see once I take this out, I'll go ahead and grab a sentiment and start putting this together. Now I'm just going to stamp the sentiment right on this cardstock as well. Now I think this is a perfect time to kind of let you know which emoji I'd like you to comment down below. How about today you go ahead and comment a star down below. I'd love to see your star emojis placed down below in the comments so that you could be entered to win one of the $300 worth of prizes for this Altenew hop. So moving along, I'll go ahead and put together this last card. So I'm just going to attach this panel right to the cardstock here. I didn't cut off any edges to get any bit of a border on this one. I just kept it all peach there. Now I'm adding some more foam adhesive and I'll go ahead and attach my little bird, and then it's just about embellishments and putting together this final card. Let's go ahead and stick him on. Have him kind of smelling one of the leaves there. I thought that looked good. And now I'm grabbing the dried petals enamel dots. I thought that this would bring out some of the purple. It's a different purple, but it tends to kind of complement what I've got going on there. So I thought it would go really well. So I'll just add an odd number of embellishments because that is more pleasing to the eye. And so I added 7. And that's that final card. So those are my 2 cards for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video and you will enjoy the release. Everything I've used is in the description below. Go ahead and check out the Altenew store. And if you want a chance to win, don't forget to comment a star emoji in the comments. Again, a star emoji. And as I mentioned, continue to hop along and don't forget to like and subscribe to the other talented designers on this hop as well as myself. I hope to see you guys again next time, and I hope that you guys love this release as much as I do. Bye!